You're listening to Beyond the Buy with Alissa, Menke, and Angie, Grau.
Welcome to Beyond the Buy,
where we explore the strategies, trends, and tactics driving paid media today.
In today's episode, we are going to discuss the Kansas social media usage research that we do at Cohort Digital.
Yeah, it is our fourth year of conducting this exact same research study, which has been really fun to watch how things have kind of stacked up and changed or not changed over time.
Yeah, so 4 years of research. What initially got you into performing this research?
So I've always been kind of a data junkie, and over the years in my career, I've always turned to Pew Internet Research, which is every year they do this national study, and it's great data, but it's a national study, and we live in the Midwest. The majority of our clients' target audiences are in the Midwest, and I know from my lifetime working in advertising and marketing that the Midwest tends to lag a little bit from what's happening on the coast.
Yeah.
And so I thought that Cohort Digital doing something that was really focused here gave us a unique opportunity to look at the data that really matters to our clients and give us a unique sort of insight into how that data relates to the national scale.
Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of differences between things happening here versus nationwide.
Yeah.
What were some of those key takeaways that you got from the research?
Yeah, so the first key takeaway that I was kind of shocked, but then also as I thought about it, not so shocked to see. So in all 4 years, we've asked people whether they have a Reddit account and how frequently they get on their account. Yeah. The first year, I didn't even publish that particular data point out because almost no one had an account. So many people had never even heard of it. And if they did have an account, they never got onto it. And that's because Reddit kind of started as this like internet fringe community where the people that were into Reddit were super into Reddit.
Absolutely.
Well, in early 2024, Reddit and Google formed a partnership where Google was able to go through and crawl all of the Reddit community's comments and forums. And suddenly you start seeing Reddit at the top of these organic searches. Yeah. And now as they did that and it built out their organic search rankings, it also bumped things up in AI searches. And so I think the fact that now as people are doing this, organic search and they're seeing Reddit, it naturally more people are going to Reddit. They're giving it more time. It's sort of its value has been recognized at a higher level. And certainly, I spend more time on Reddit. I still don't personally have an account. Actually, I might.
You might.
I might.
You may not know the login information.
Yes.
But there might be an account.
I'm not a contributor. I'm a lurker.
Yes. Fair.
Yeah. But so this year, it still wasn't the top of anybody's, top preferred networks. But it did rank for some, kind of towards the middle. And it was only on a couple of the age demographics where we saw it down and almost never used. And I contribute a lot of that to that Google Reddit partnership that happened. And it'll be interesting to see how that potentially continues to change over time as AI plays more and more in what people are seeing as they're doing their searches. Because as I'm sure you've noticed,
yes,
search just isn't what it used to be.
No.
And, Google's starting to creep out on rolling out that AI search and AI chat for folks. And so it'll play an even bigger role there, I think.
Yeah, I have definitely noticed my own usage of Reddit. I also do not have an account. I have friends who do. My husband, I think, does. But I always just kind of thought it was for gamers. And some people, I just did not have that knowledge. But even, I think it was yesterday I told you, or earlier this week, I had mentioned that in the results, when I'm asking a question, Reddit is right up there. And I'm like, man, and I'm taking a lot of that information. And I do try to cross-check just to make sure that I'm not doing something way off base. But I definitely recognize Reddit a lot more popping up in search results.
Well, and it makes sense because over time, the way that we are using search engines is no longer like, I have a keyword. Now it's, I have a question. Yes. And so I'm inputting that entire question. Well, that's what the Reddit community's been doing for, 10 plus years.
Yeah.
going there, asking questions and getting feedback from this, greater community. And so it makes sense that it's answering questions and that it pops up that high. Then the next interesting or sort of not so interesting finding, if you will, is that Facebook is still the top. Across, almost all of our demos, with the exception of maybe one or two, it's the most popular network. People are checking it the most regularly. They're the most likely to have a profile there. And so, it's kind of boring from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing sexy about posting to my Facebook page every day or a couple times a week. Or maybe even running an ad campaign there, but gosh darn it, it still works. So it's important for us to be able to explain to our clients why they, hold in there, hang in there, because that investment of your time still matters.
Yeah.
It is, though, I will say, we're starting to see a dip. When you compare the Facebook numbers to what we saw that first year, in terms of the data across the board, regular usage is down about 10%. So, no one's like running from Facebook, but it is starting to see a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah. And it sounds like Facebook may be introducing some changes in the coming year that could potentially impact that as well.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how all of the things Facebook's testing actually pan out. And, the broader audience may actually love the changes that they're considering. The third thing that really stands out when I look at the data is where Facebook has kind of dropped off, YouTube has surged. That first year of data, 4 years ago when we did the study, the people that were on YouTube as like a regular platform skewed older. And so you saw it like maybe 45, 55, but definitely 55 plus, right? Both of those demographics. What you're seeing now is that YouTube is a top platform pretty much across the board. And I really attribute a lot of that to the fact that YouTube caught on to this vertical shorts, short video trend that younger audience really looks for. Started out hot on Snapchat, on TikTok.
Yes.
YouTube realized it was an opportunity, and they've really made a push there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know my teenager, that's the only way she gets to see those things. So she does spend quite a bit of time on YouTube. Sorry, my little side quest that I have. She does not currently have an account, but I know that YouTube is changing their teen accounts.
Yeah.
Do you think that could potentially, that may make a difference next year in some of those results?
Potentially. That's one of the things that's really interesting when we look at this. There's also all of this conversation with potentially 16 and under in certain states not even having access to social media accounts. And so understanding how that rolls out, understanding how that potentially impacts usage. Our study does go down to the age of 13. Yeah. Which is really us trying to understand their usage, not necessarily from like a where do I place ad standpoint, because if you're familiar with placing ads on social, you know that very few of them allow us to target anything below the age of 18. But really more on our clients' behalf, where is it best to invest that organic time? Yeah. The thing that I think really caught me a little bit off guard was when we look at like the new platforms. We hear a lot about TikTok. We hear a lot about, not as much Snapchat, but a lot about Instagram. Yeah. And TikTok held pretty steady from last year. It had been on this really big upward trajectory. I think all of this is it going to get shut down? Is it not going to get shut down? Are creators going to still be able to make money creating for that platform? Because that regular usage and the uptick that they were seeing in new subscribers to kind of drop off. Snapchat just feels like there are still pockets that are using it a lot, but we see our Snapchat numbers are down. And then we also saw that our Instagram numbers were down a little bit this year, which I thought was interesting. As a marketer, you like the fact that Instagram brings this flavor that it feels younger. Yeah. It's definitely more visually driven than what Facebook is. But I'm it just did not resonate with the audience that participated this year as much as it has in years past.
Okay. Do you feel like Meta obviously owns both Facebook and Instagram? Do you think that kind of sisterhood maybe leads to some of that where they feel like, well, I'm already on Facebook. Do I even need Instagram?
I think there's that. And then I think there's also vice versa. I think that you've got some younger teens that are getting a Facebook account because they have an Instagram account, and as Meta is known to do, they sort of trick you. Like,
Yeah, yes.
this is not a question in the survey, but I would legitimately love to know the number of people that like on their own accord went out and started a Threads account, right?
They got
Threads
looped
is
into
part
that.
of that. Threads is part of that Meta umbrella. And I have a Threads account, but it was very much so because I sort of got like pushed into it.
Yes.
Where it was like,
Same.
I kept getting like teased with this content.
Yes. And then you engage with it, and then you have an
then
account.
Voila, one more account.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in the same boat there. And that one I haven't figured out yet. I don't think many of us have. It's new. I know it's supposed to kind of compete with X, but
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is just purely personal point of view on it, but it started off as being this place where it was like the safe version of X, and that wasn't going to be like mean and political.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, but my Threads right now looks
Yeah.
real mean and real political. So
Same.
it's not where I want to spend any of my time.
I agree. Got enough platforms that I'm visiting.
Yeah. The fifth thing that the data showed us was LinkedIn is not considered to be a really popular network. And it wasn't a place that people went to a lot. But the thing, I mean, that didn't surprise me, right? LinkedIn is the professional network. It's very important for some people, but for others, it doesn't make sense at all.
Right.
And so I think it's one of those where you really have to know your target audience, because there are absolutely lots of folks that are spending, a lot of time on LinkedIn. They're going there a couple of times a week. And it makes sense for your brand to invest in putting time there and even putting ads there, but also definitely not for everyone.
Right. Yes. I know even personally, depending on where I'm at in my job search or history,
Yeah.
I'm going to either be there a little bit more or a little bit less. So when I had, my business, I was never there. I was never looking at it. So yeah, it's interesting to think about that life cycle of career and where people will be jumping in, taking breaks, digging back in.
Sure. As a business owner that is sort of in charge of developing new business, LinkedIn is probably where I spend the majority of my time, because it gives me an opportunity to have sort of that relationship building and one-on-one professional conversations.
Yes.
And so, gives me the ability to build some thought leadership that, quite frankly, most of my Facebook friends, there's like, whatever, Alissa.
Yeah.
We see you, girl.
Yeah.
Don't need any of that.
Yeah. And that really does go to that, making sure that you have that awareness of your content, your messaging, and that you're placing it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so those were 5 takeaways. Was there anything from the data that really stood out to you?
Yeah, the thing that really stood out to me was, if you look at all of these different age demographics that we're gathering data from, how much social media that 19 to 24-year-old is investing their time in. And I say investing time in. We don't ask how many minutes, how many hours do you spend? We are asking, are you there on a daily basis? Are you there, multiple times a week? Are you there a couple of times a month? Are you never there? But the number of 19 to 24-year-olds that were regularly, so daily or a couple of times a week, checking 5 different platforms was off the charts higher than any other demographic. So they are all up on their phones.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I guess isn't a surprise, but at the same time, I would have thought to see that also from the teens. Yeah, the teen side, or even 25 to 34. And it really isn't comparable.
Wow.
Yeah. So that stood out to me. And it does make you kind of want to befriend some young professionals and be like, what's going on your phone?
Yeah.
And then how are they, are they Are they actively consuming content? 5 different platforms? Are they just doing like a quick check-in? I don't know, because that time has got to stack up on their phone fast.
Yeah, it does. Well, I know for me, I'm trying to think what would be comparable. I have a Snapchat. I don't really post a Snapchat. I'm not cool like that. But I do go for memories. So when I go, or to get rid of the notification bubble, side topic. We don't need to talk about that. But I go real quick, look at my kids when they were little and squishy and so cute. And so that's, I don't know, a couple minutes maybe when I think about it. Instagram I really go to because my husband sends me reels and my daughter sends me reels. So I'm really going for that. Sometimes I get sucked into additional content, but mostly it's to kind of cross-check them. What's interesting is I spend more time on Facebook now than I feel like I did maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, which I don't necessarily love, but that's where I'm spending time. I also have a group chat with my friends through Messenger, and so we keep up kind of that way. So that's like 3 that I frequently am on.
Yeah.
So I could see, I mean, sometimes TikTok, but not usually. And I don't look at YouTube.
I was going to say, I'm going to totally out myself here. I almost exclusively look at Facebook. I have Instagram. I will occasionally look there. I sometimes still get duped into looking at Threads.
Yes. Yeah, that happens.
Because I'm like, well, kind of. And then I'm like, stupid Threads.
Yes.
I don't really like, for me, YouTube is very much I'm going to look for a specific answer or a topic, or I need to learn something.
Yes.
And then LinkedIn, I do spend. So I would
yes.
say Facebook and LinkedIn are probably where I invest my time.
Yeah.
I have an account on everything. I mean, other than that questionable, do I have an account on Threads or on Reddit? I think I do.
I mean, I have an X account that hasn't been updated since 2015, 2016. I don't even know my password. It's there.
That's cool.
Don't look at it.
Elon Musk likes to still chalk you up as a user.
I'm a user. All right, so you started this because you felt like Kansas is going to represent differently from the national surveys conducted by Pew. So in that comparison part, what came up? How do they compare?
So the thing that really stood out to me was, one, very much on par with our Facebook and our YouTube being the number one platforms. For us, both of those, 93% of our audience was using and had profiles on YouTube and on Facebook, and were actively using them. When you look at the national scale, Facebook's down at 71%, and YouTube is the clear front runner for them at 89%. But the thing that I think is interesting is it was what happened from there that we skewed much higher in our regular usage for Instagram, for TikTok, and for Snapchat. Instagram, 72% of our respondents were using Instagram, 57% for both Snapchat and TikTok. When you look at Pew, though, those numbers drop. Instagram is about 50%, so, but then TikTok, 37%, which is where I really think that, the disruption of this last year and people not knowing, am I going to be able to continue to have this account? I don't know that it impacted the number of people that were interested in TikTok as much as it impacted the number of people that were creating for TikTok that suddenly thought, I'm not going to get my paycheck, or if I invest all of my time into this one platform, then I'm going to, it's going to get the plug pulled and I'm going to have to start over. And so people that were going there previously exclusively for that content now started to turn to, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts. Snapchat, 25% of people are using Snapchat. So a lot less than Kansas. So that's a thing that I'm going to be really looking at moving forward is, will our Snapchat numbers continue to drop so that it sort of mimics nationally, but also just a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's again, generally speaking, we look a lot like the national numbers. We're just a little bit different in that we're indexing higher and we're a little bit slower to see those drop offs. And, to be perfectly fair, some of that may have to do with survey differences, right? The way that we're collecting data versus the way that they're collecting data. They obviously have the ability to get 10,000 plus survey respondents. I believe they're making phone calls for these things, whereas we are sending ours out through social media. Naturally, we're going to get more people that are using social media on a regular basis. That's how they found out about the survey. But I mean, generally speaking, I think it's still very useful for our everyday and our clients everyday in terms of where should they be investing their time? Where should they be investing their money? How do they get in front of their target audience?
So looking toward, we're in this new year, 2026. Do you see or do you anticipate things that might make a dramatic change or anything that you're kind of looking forward to seeing how it plays out?
Gosh, that is a good question. I would say, we kind of talked a little bit before about Facebook testing some things that may have a really big impact. If you've not been following that narrative in the tech media, essentially what Facebook's doing right now is they have pulled a handful of pages and they've essentially said, if you're not verified, you get to send 2 outbound links outside of like the Facebook walled garden each month. If you want to send more than 2, then you have to be verified. If you are familiar with the verification process, it basically entails writing them a check or sending them automatic money each month from your checking account to get that little blue verification. We've got some clients where that's fine. Like it means I'm not going to be sending as much traffic intentionally to my website as I'd like to, but does it make the value or the necessity of having that Facebook account not be there anymore? I don't think so. Other clients, I'm going to tell them you probably need to go ahead and get verified. Whereas up until this test, I've said no. Because we've read a lot of research, and for every person that said like, yeah, I got verified and it's increased my engagement and it's really helped me grow my page, grow my brand, there's at least one, if not 2 people are saying, meh, I tried it. I spent some money. I got some engagement, but it's not necessarily a lot different than the engagement I was getting ahead of time. And so we've been kind of, holding off.
Sure. Yeah. If we can't prove the validity or the value of that expense, but that may be changing.
But with this change, if it rolls out, although, I assume that unless there's some sort of giant backlash from the masses of big companies, not us. I don't see Facebook being like, no, we don't want to automatically make more money every month doing literally nothing more other than putting a rule in place.
Right. And as somebody who's been in social media since the beginning, really, how do you feel about the impact that could have on small businesses? Because social media kind of created an equal playing field.
Yeah. Well, I know that the thing that I'm going to be really talking with people about is, and it's not specific to this, but it plays into this. Video is, when you looked at what was performing best in your Facebook feed, video almost always is the highest. And so if you were shooting video before with the intent of pushing it out through Facebook, I'm going to really encourage people to pivot and think of the other places you can be pushing video out. Also, you should never rely on any of the social platforms, not just Facebook, but any of them, as being the place you're sending people to learn more about your brand in terms of what are your hours? Are you open today? Whatever, because at the end of the day, they don't own those pages.
No.
The number of emails that I have gotten from distraught small business owners that had someone hack into their account and they now can no longer access their page is heartbreaking, because I know the amount of time that's been invested in those.
Yes.
And they can't good luck getting a hold of someone at Facebook. And 2, a lot of times, even if you can get a hold of someone there, the number of hoops that you jump through to try to get that back, if you can even get it back, becomes such a time suck that it makes more sense to just say, well, shucks, looks like I'm starting over.
Yeah. Well, that's rough. Well, there's going to be some new things happening in the social media realm that we will look forward to seeing the research that we do at the end of next year and see how that all compares. Any other tips or advice, things that you've learned from this that might be worth noting?
I mean, if I was a betting person, I would tell you content creation needs to be coming through a video lens. I mean, that's where I would really be investing my time. I'm not saying that static images and carousel images and things like that aren't worth time investment, but there are so many other benefits and, that sort of a long tail value to video creation in terms of how it helps you outside of any specific platform. That's where I'd be telling people. And
We're doing it.
Yeah, as you say, we're doing it too, because it will impact how you show up in search, how you show up in AI summaries, how people are engaging with you online, and so it's worth it. If you're not doing video, probably time to jump in.
All right. Well, good, valuable information for all of us to learn and to hear. Be sure to tune in a couple of weeks for our next episode of Beyond the Buy.